Hi guys, welcome back. Today I'm going to be working on a little journal, one that I can carry in my bag, take notes or jot down ideas. It's a simple little thing. I was inspired by Heather over at Ruby&Pearlxo, and I will post her journal in the description box. I printed out a book cover from the Graphics Fairy, and I went ahead and sized it to my chipboard that I'm using for the cover, which is 4 by 6 inches. That's a good size for me. I like how it fits in my hands, and also I like how it would go, I can carry it in a bag or whatever. I'm going to be using some of my hand-dyed silk strips. This one happens to be caramel apple. And I will also post down below the video that talks about those, and you can find those in my Etsy store. I've got some old lace and some velvet that I want to use on the cover, as well as some fabric, some old fabric that I tea-dyed and bleached, I believe, a long time ago. I'm going to be using that for some of the binding. These papers are old papers that I put in a water bath. I don't know if you're familiar with that method, but it's really fun. And Nellie Wortman does a video on that on YouTube, and if I can find it, I will link that also. But you wrap all these papers up in fabrics or whatever you want, and you sink it into a water bath with some rusty bits and that sort of thing for like 24 hours, and then drain it, and they come out really cool. You can see how distressed they look. In fact, I won't even be using ink on most of these papers because they're already distressed and they have such unique edges. So that's kind of fun. If you've never done that, I suggest you give that a try. It's really fun. And you noticed that some of mine had this pink cast. I believe there was some red paper in that batch, and they turned some of the things pink. And interestingly enough, it matches the pink cover that I'm going to be using. So at this point, I'm just going ahead and tearing my cover so that I'm ready to glue that onto the chipboard. I get the chipboard from Amazon. I think you can probably get it at any craft supply store, I don't know. And this one happened to come in, let me think, 8 by 6, I think, and then my husband just cut it in half for me. So I'm going to go ahead and glue this cover to the top of the chipboard. As we go through this, by the way, I made a couple of mistakes, and I'm going to go ahead and show you those as I go. I'm doing a voiceover, so I can point out my mistakes. And you know how they say, there are no mistakes in junk journaling? Well, yeah, there's one that's definitely a mistake, but I'll tell you when they come and tell you what I would do differently. In fact, I might be making another one of these. They're so much fun. Heather's was very personal to her, and I tried to make this somewhat personal too by using some special things that I had in my stash. So at this point, I'm just trimming up some things. I'm going to use Fabri-Tac glue to adhere this to the chipboard. And I will be using some sandpaper. And I'm just going to put it on and sand it just like some of the old books that you see. I suspect maybe that there's chipboard in some of those old book covers, because you'll see when I have it done here that it kind of looks like those old things. And if you're not familiar with Graphics Fairy, by the way, they have a lot of good stuff. I believe you could use another type of glue, but I happen to like this one for this specific uh, cover idea. It seems to stick well to the chipboard. So today I'm not going to do any decorating. I believe I'll do that off camera and then post the final journal next week. But this, I'm just going to use some of these special papers that were in the bath, in the dye bath, and go ahead and just put papers in it for now. And I'm not going to decorate it heavily. I'm just going to use it, like I say, for notes and ideas. And so, you know, I want places to write and maybe places to put cards, you know, tags, that sort of thing that I can make notes on. So here you can see that I'm using 120 grit sandpaper. And I'm roughing up the edges and the corners and making it look as old and grungy as I can. Then I will ink those, and you'll see how cool that is. Looks really good. In fact, when it's done, it looks just like a book cover, an old book cover, which I was kind of proud of because I thought, wow, I haven't used these before. These little paper book covers from Graphics Fairy. They have a ton of them, some really cool ones. And I'm going to be doing that some more. I like it. So I'm going to ink this with, I'm using Ranger ink in coffee. And I'm just going to use that and just ink around all the edges and make it look older and more grungy. You know how I like grungy. Make sure all your corners are glued down after your sandpaper. Some of them may lift up. So give it a pretty good inking. Make it look old and grungy. Like I say, I'm not going to be inking many of the pages because they're already distressed, but I wanted the cover to look old. I did take the, I did download the book cover file from Graphics Fairy, and then the one that I'm inking now is the one that is on their site. And so I took that one over to Photoshop And then I use the clone tool to take out all the words. When in the middle there, you can see the back cover doesn't have all the words. So there's a way to do that on Photoshop. If you're interested, I can always give you a quick little rundown on how I did that, but I think it's the clone tool. So I went ahead and did that so that there were, you know, it looks like front and back covers. I'm going to make the spine about 3/4 of an inch. And that is one of the things I would tell you to do a little bit bigger. I wish I would have done it at 1 inch, but that's okay. If I make another one, I would certainly do it 1 inch, because after I got all these pages in there, it was pretty stuffed, and I haven't even added any decorating to it yet, or any tags or anything. So now, like Heather did, I'm going to use this brown paper. It's an old envelope, I think, from Amazon. So I'm going to go ahead and use the brown paper and just glue them together by the spine there. And I'm putting them up against that quilt ruler just so that they're even at the top. And I know what the 3/4 inch is. So that's my theory there. So I'm just going to go ahead and glue this down, and that will strengthen the spine. And then later we come back and put a pretty floral fabric there, which is another one of the boo-boos. Oh, you're learning all what not to do today. Heather's watching this. She's probably giggling. See, I should have followed her. Should have paid more attention, Heather. Here again, I'm using Fabri-Tac. Art glitter glue is usually my go-to, but for something like this, I like Fabri-Tac. It's stronger, I believe. I don't know for sure, but it grabs quickly. Okay, so there's that spine. I think that's going to be cute. I love the size of this. And here's the, just testing out my floral stuff. This will be the inside of the spine, so you'll see that when you open the journal. When you hear what I have in mind for the spine, I'm trying to decide between the lace doily and the lace strip. I love that velvet color because it goes so well with the printing on the pink cover, which I didn't have planned either, but it really sets that off. And that happened to be a piece of just white velvet that I threw in with the rusty bath with all the papers, and that's how it came out. It wasn't even spotted or anything. It just came out real solid. It's kind of a taupe color. I like it. So there are my two lace choices, the doily or the lace strip, and I'm still deciding on that at this point. So we'll set all that aside and we'll start on the pages, on the signatures. And this is fun for me because I get to play with the papers, which I love to do. They're crinkly and fun, and like I say, these are also special because they're all distressed in a unique way. I go ahead and make all my pages different sizes. I like a variation of the sizes from little to big to tall, you know. I like them hanging out all over the place. So I like them bigger, top, bottom, and side. See these pink ones? Aren't those cool? They turned out, that's just from the water bath that I did with some red paper in there. And that I didn't even realize, by the way. And it just matches the pink on the cover. It's crazy. This happens to be a old player piano roll, and it's kind of crinkly and fun. I'm using my serrated ruler, which is fun. You get different designs. I couldn't resist doing 2 pages out of the piano roll paper. This one's some old stuff that I printed. It didn't go in the... it's an old letter or something that I printed onto some funky paper. It didn't go in the bath, but... This one, that page that I just set aside, is going to be used for the inside covers. This is an old ledger piece. This one is kind of funky. I don't know where that came from. It looks like I did some eco printing on that and has a little flower or something there. This blue that I'm throwing in here is actually just one of the few colors that I've thrown in. It's pretty pretty traditional paper colors, you know. I just tea dyed or bath dyed or whatever. It's like I don't have a lot of color going on at this point, because I thought if I did anything like that, I would do it in the decorating. This is an old deed, it looks like, or a will or something. It's kind of funky and it's real dirty. I will warn you about... Oh, first let me tell you about this one. This one happened to be in a rusty black bean bath. It turned out blue, which was kind of cool. But I will warn you about using certain papers in this bath. I print mine, well, these are originals, which you want to either use original documents or something printed on a laser printer, because otherwise, if you use like a jet printer or one of the little things with the little cartridges, it can run in the dye bath and all your documents will just be a big blob of ink and not look good. So either use original documents and ledgers, old stuff, or laser printed. And here I'm just kind of putting them together, seeing what I like where. This one that got dyed pink happens to be from an old music book for string instruments where you use like the tabs. It's old, and it's so old it's really kind of icky. But I got that on one of our travels in Arizona at a like a, oh, what do you call them, a flea market. And I had to pay a little bit for that one too. The guy knew what he was selling. His stuff was pretty pricey. There were some other things I wanted there, but eh. Look at that. See how they're hanging over top, bottom, and side? I love that. And I love how the pink peeks out. So we're going to go with that. And I'm liking this. I think I like the order it's in. I may switch up a couple pages. I'm going to put that blue one in the center. Oh no, I'm going to put this one in the center. There you go. I like that. Now at this point I'm going to go through and see which of the pages are extra fragile, where they may tear if I put like, I bind this one with a ribbon like Heather did, so if I'm going to bind this with ribbon, I don't want these pages to tear. So the ones that I consider to be fragile, I am going to glue a strip of my silk down the middle of it. And here's one of the boo-boos that I made, and I don't know exactly what I should have done differently. I'm going to have to experiment, and it's fine for this because this is just my little journal and I want it to be grungy anyway. But when I glued these to the paper, when I glued the silk to the papers, I used art glitter glue. And I thought I had used my finger to smooth it out really well so that it wouldn't pull through the, it wouldn't show through the silk, but it didn't. And you'll see later on that it did. You can kind of see where that was glued down. So if I was doing a really fancy, nice journal, I would have to figure out a better way to do that. Live and learn, I say. You don't have to use silk here. You can use any sort of ribbon. You can use muslin. Anything would work. Paper, washi tape. So I just think the silk, especially in this color, just kind of adds to the overall look of the journal. And I'm keeping these in order as I go. I'm trying not to keep everything just in the pink. I'm trying to put a little variety in there just to keep some interest. This page is an old onion skin. I got a huge box of the onion skin stuff. It's old. I got that in Arizona also at a Goodwill store. I was really excited about that. But it is fragile. This is an old book page, and they're often very fragile. So, there we go. So at this point, I'm kind of picking out the color of the ribbon that I want to tie it with, and I'm going to choose that kind of light pink. It's kind of an ombre, so I'm going to choose the light pink into the red, a strip of that. And at this point, then I have to decide, I have to get all my pages centered with one another and figure out which is the smallest page, so I make sure that I hit every single page with the ribbon. You'll see what I mean. So I want to center them on each other, and I'm deciding here that it's better to do that from the inside. So we'll just start from the middle and center each one on top of the other. Evidently, I decided that this one needed something too. Some I do on the front, some I do on the back, so there's kind of a variety there going. Okay, so I'm starting here to just center them. But, you know, it's not a science, just do what you think looks good. That's my smallest page right there. So I want to make sure my ribbon, my holes hit that page. Looks good, I love it. I'm going to use these little paper clips to clip it together so it doesn't move while I poke the holes. I'm finding that smallest page and basing my holes on that. You can use anything here. Oftentimes I use those giant clips, and they actually work better than these big paper clips, but. So now I'm going to take what I call my little pokey tool. I believe it's a tool by Tim Holtz. And I'm going to poke a hole. And it's a little bit tough to go through all that all that silk. Um, After I get that done, I'm going to take the awl and ream it out so that it's bigger so that I can get the ribbon through. Now here's where I make my big mistake. The one that is an actual mistake. You'll see here in a bit. I take the ribbon through, and I should be putting the little floral fabric strip on the back of all this and taking the ribbon through the whole thing, but I don't. I go ahead and put it on here. Luckily, there's no glue or anything involved, so it's easy to take out and redo, and you'll see how I do that in a minute. Just don't make that mistake. I don't want it that wide because just too much, so I tore it in half lengthwise. Strings everywhere. I just poke it through with the awl. And as I'm looking at things, I see that page is pretty fragile and it's starting to tear. So I'm going to go ahead and put a little silk strip there. That piece is from a diary, an old diary dated 1923. And it talks about, I should have read it to you before I got it all glued up, but it talks about his mom and dad and him going to town in their buggy. It's kind of cool. I have the whole diary, and the whole thing is, kind of cool like that. We picked apples today, and Pa drove Ma in the buggy, and, it's kind of fun. So now I'm poking holes through that strip there. Now at this point, I realized that I had made a boo-boo and didn't have this piece of fabric there. So thank goodness. I caught it in time. And I'm just sizing that up and tearing it. And I hit that with a little bit of ink. So at this point I take out my ribbon and have to rethread it after I get holes poked in this. Okay, so we undo what we did. Redo everything again. Pay attention. Luckily, I hadn't glued anything down. So, back we go. I love how Heather did this little ribbon, or this little, yeah, ribbon string thing. It gives it more color, and it's kind of, it's easier for me than the binding with a needle and the waxed thread. And it's cute in the center of the book, center of the signature. And it works really well if you pay attention. You tie it somewhat tight, but you don't have to really pull it hard. Sometimes I pull my thread so hard that I tear the paper, and, that's not good. They're cute. I love it. Okay, now we're going to glue that little fabric piece down to the brown paper piece. I think this is what you call a soft spine. I'm not real sure. Don't glue the fabric to the pages. Now Heather had already put her inside covers on at this point, and then she glued the fabric down over those. And I thought I would like it better if I did it opposite, but as it turns out, I think I would have liked to have done it like Heather did. Because for one thing, I like that fabric, and I think it would just look better. But in a minute, you'll see where I put the inside covers over that piece. I mean, it's either or, and I could always go back and put another little strip of fabric over it, but it's whatever you like. It's kind of 6 of one, half a dozen of the other. And I'm just cutting these 4x6 and gluing them in. I'm going to do the same thing that I did with the front covers. I'm going to glue them on with Fabri-Tac and then sand the edges and then ink. And the ribbon seems to hold the signature paper real well. Now is the time to decide. Do I want the doily? Do I want the lace? Pretty sure I'm going to decide on the lace. This lace, by the way, is very old. It's in good shape, but it's very, very old. And very beautiful. So is the doily. Like I say, it's hard for me to decide on stuff like this, but either one is very pretty. But I end up going with the lace. Maybe I'll make another one and go with the doily. It's always very hard for me to make up my mind, and then when I do, I always wish I had done the other thing. I don't know what that is about me, but it drives me nuts. You know, pick one and go. Oh well. Haven't been able to change that yet. Yes, do it. Loving it. I call this my little pink journal because I'm original like that. Since it's just for me, I don't have it as a project or anything, but I do love it. It turned out really cute, and I still want to do a little decorating, but that'll come later. I'm just going to put a little bit of ink on that to make it look older than it is. It's been well loved, well used. And as I do that, I decided I need to go in and ink up some of the silk strips inside. And there she is, my little pink book. Thanks for watching. Have a good day.